In these uncertain times, we have all started valuing life in general and health in particular. An industry that protects and gives confidence in these unprecedented times is life insurance. Joining me today is the MD and CEO of Exide Life Insurance, Kshitij Jain. Kshitij is a veteran of the industry, and his story is fascinating as he is the founding member of the company and has led the business for the last 14 years. Exide Life has successfully navigated all the regular obstacles associated with first being a startup and then participating in a hyper competitive industry. In addition, it has dealt with the unique challenge of rebranding itself twice following major changes in shareholding. They have now been profitable for over 7 years, and Kshitij remains very positive about the long term prospects of the company and the industry. Join me as I talk to him today. I just have to say that I was speaking to one of the economists, and he said that you can't ignore India, whatever the growth numbers we are seeing, the GDP numbers. You can't ignore India because India is the last frontier in the world for the largest consumer economy. And with that as a context, I want to understand from you. Tell us the scale, the magnitude, and the scope of insurance as a growth of insurance in our country, in India.
So I've been fortunate to be a part of the entire privatization experience of this industry effective day one, because I joined this industry, 19 and a half years ago.
Wow.
And I can tell you that even now, a lot of people don't understand the sheer scale of our industry. As of today, between all the life insurers put together, the industry manages 40 lakh crores of assets under management. It's as large as that. Okay. Despite that, and despite 20 years of privatization right now, we are in a situation where insurance penetration, and when we talk about insurance penetration, we speak about insurance premium as a percentage of GDP, that's still under 3%.
Wow.
When in some developed markets, you have a situation where insurance penetration is upwards of 10%. So imagine we are in an industry which is large. We are in an industry where penetration is low, 1/3 what it could be in a developed market. And we are in a country where GDP growth is amongst the highest in the world.
Yes.
So this combination put together means that the prospects for the industry are very, very bright. And as a result of which, it remains a magnet for talent coming out of colleges, people coming in from different industries. The industry generates a huge amount of employment as well. Something a lot of people are not aware of. There are actually 20 lakh agents who are representing different life insurance companies in the industry. So that's the kind of employment the business generates.
Kshitij, I have to ask you this. What makes customers choose Exide Life?
So that's a big question. I could take an hour to answer that. But I think it essentially comes down to the brand and the proposition that the organization offers. So, we are as a brand, and this is a relatively new brand because we adopted the name of our parent organization, Exide Industries. It's a 100-year-old brand. And the name Exide is synonymous with trust, which I think lends itself very, very well to our entire, industry. The organization on its own standalone is very strong financially. We operate at over 200% solvency, which is an indicator of the financial health of the organization. We now manage assets of 16,000 crores plus. We've been profitable every year for the last 7 years. We have announced a bonus for all our participating policyholders every year since inception. So that's now 18 years odd that the organization has been in business. So I think these are the strengths that the sales organization is able to leverage on to be able to present a compelling proposition to customers. And I think it's worked for us.
Wow. Wow. The numbers speak for itself. I want to understand, and I'm sure there'll be so many things that leads to this consistently outperforming, if I may say so. If you had to say, what have you done as an organization, you have done consistently to improve customer experience, Tell us, what are some of the things that you've done, and any campaign, any initiative that reflects some of the work that you're doing?
Customer first, customer engagement, customer satisfaction, these are all buzzwords which apply to every industry. In our business, it becomes crucial because a life insurance company's profitability depends on retention of existing customers. So customer satisfaction is not a nice to have buzzword in our business. It's an imperative. So we track customer satisfaction for every transaction that we do obsessively. In the last year, consistently every month, we've been able to score 90% plus, especially in our purchase transaction, which is the moment of truth. It's not where I would ideally want the business to be. Of course, I want more. But given our industry, I would think 90% plus is a pretty good mark to have achieved.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
to my mind, that's been the fundamental reason why every interaction with the organization being tracked means overall customer experience has certainly improved over the years, and it's something that we are building on going forward.
Yeah, I was just thinking about your background with your kind of pedigree and education. You've been in insurance for the last 20 years. Speaks of the segment. It speaks of, but somehow we just don't talk about, the people. And I'm so happy that we are having conversation and talking to people, because I don't think so. People in this space go out and talk a lot about themselves as leaders in the industry. But yeah, thank you. I also want to understand, now you've seen the growth of this space in the last 20 years. You are sitting at a cusp where the digitalization is growing like in an unprecedented way. What are some of the trends that you think are going to emerge, which will define and shape the industry in the coming years?
So there is a short run and there is a long run. 90% plus of the premiums that our industry collects are actually for long-term disciplined savings. I don't see this changing as being the core of the industry, for the simple reason that our country doesn't have an organized pension system, and the life insurance industry fills in that need. So long-term disciplined saving is going to be the core proposition of the industry, apart, of course, from protection. And I don't see that changing. What is going to change is that customers are going to be able to take far more mature decisions, for the simple reason this entire concept of researching online and buying offline is now becoming favored means for all customers.
Yeah.
And customers, therefore, are far more mature and far clearer about what they are looking for in terms of a proposition from a company. Let's recognize it's a major decision, because customers are committing to themselves to a contract which will last for 20, 30 or more years. As a result of which, being aware is very crucial.
Yeah.
So the core of the industry, I don't see changing in terms of the proposition, but the way customers engage with companies and the level of information and knowledge that they bring to the table, I see as being a big change going forward.
Yeah, and especially I think you are sitting at a place where Exide Life will benefit, right? Because you said that the credibility, trust, and the kind of numbers that it commands. So automatically, I'm assuming that there will be far more attraction towards Exide Life, right? In this environment.
Well, I will concede that this will benefit not just us, but everyone. But we will be grateful recipients of, I think, the trust of our customers. We are, end of the day, industry which even today depends a lot on distribution. So to be able to succeed, not just will we be able to have a good, compelling proposition for customers, but we'll need to have efficient distribution machinery in place. And that's what takes a large portion of the effort within the organization.
My question to you is, we all, the word we all have got used to is unprecedented. It is a very unprecedented time, but your business and Exide Life Insurance, I hear, is doing well and especially in term policy. Tell us, what are some of the opportunities you are seeing in these times?
So, the life insurance industry by its nature is built around being resilient. And I think that would be the best way to describe our business. And every time we have faced challenges, we have emerged stronger. The current situation is clearly unprecedented. but the team has risen to the occasion, and we've been able to successfully pursue a balanced approach between ensuring business continuity, gaining momentum, and efficiency. Well, the first response of the organization to the COVID crisis, of course, was safety of our staff and all our business partners, and we have a number of them. But we followed this with a very quick pivot by adapting to a new way of working by remote, working from home. It was something new to a large portion of the organization. So it meant, a transitioning from this classic command and control model to a far more collaborative way of working. And we now are in a situation where we are able to connect with our existing customers and prospective ones digitally. And our entire field sales organization is able to connect with customers without having necessarily to be face to face with them. Why directly have term policies gone up? My sense is that customers have dealt with heightened insecurities during these uncertain times. So the first 3 weeks of the lockdown, clearly there was a deferring of purchase decision by customers. But now I find things are beginning to change, and customers are looking at us for the core proposition that we offer, which is protection combined with long-term risk-free savings. So I think this entire combination of the field organization being comfortable with getting in touch with customers remotely and the customer's need for protection has led to this upsurge in new business over the last month or so.
Yeah, Kshitij, I also wanted to ask you, is that especially because of the COVID, and we all are witnessing for the first time, and it's not just India, but globally, is that we are all witnessing that, life, health, and these things really, really matter. And it's not that, because insurance, mostly we see na ki ho jayega, le lenge. But today it has come starkingly in front of us that we need to take care of ourselves. Do you see that because of this COVID also people are now looking at insurance more closely?
The answer is yes and yes. I clearly think that there is heightened awareness as far as overall health and wellness goes. So, everyone and anyone right now is talking about the right diet, right exercise, and so on and so forth. Having said that, insurance takes care of a very deep-rooted psychological need right now. So my sense is that both health and protection policies are going to see a big uptick in this coming year for the simple reasons people want the confidence that they are protecting themselves and their families as well. So as far as pure protection is concerned, I see this as a good year for the industry.
And what would you say, as far as Exide Life and your engagement with the customers is concerned, did you take some special steps, processes, especially now that we are all interacting digitally?
Sure. So I mentioned to you before that this entire concept of remote working was something new to the organization. But fortunately, we had invested in building a strong digital backbone in the organization. Look, after all, technology is a core enabler in our business, and it is a key differentiator in a very highly competitive life insurance industry. So we are fast evolving to becoming a digital-first organization. We have essentially 4 pillars that we look at when we look at our digital strategy. The first, of course, is to be able to effectively service our existing customers. The second is enable and automate the very large sales force that a life insurance company supports. The third, of course, which is still a relatively small portion of the industry, is promotion of online sales directly to customers. And finally, all decisions in the company based on deep understanding of the customer on the basis of analytics. So this is now a very integral part of our organization. In fact, if I was to give you some numbers, we are currently at a situation where 70% plus of our customer transactions are now being fulfilled digitally. And this is not just going to help us as far as cost efficiency is concerned, but it's going to be great for customer engagement and customer retention, which is crucial in our business.
The number that I've been told is that you've seen a 200% growth in term policy.
I think that's maths for you. That's 100% growth and 200% of the number that we were doing in the past. And yes, that's correct. We were doing roughly 20% of our customer acquisition via protection policies last year. And in the first 6 weeks of this year, we are running at 40% of our customer acquisition via protection policies. So we have this flagship product called Smart Term, which customers really like, and that's just flying off the shelves.
Wow. I'm sorry I asked you this because it's also very important for all the entrepreneurs, business owners, everyone who will be watching this, that while the economy is impacted, a lot of businesses are impacted. There are segments which are actually growing. What you're saying is that digital has come mainstream, and how?
Oh,
Because
absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, digital first is the way to go. And this is in an industry which has actually not seen too much of innovation in the last 100 years. But I think this entire COVID crisis is going to force digital adoption, both by organizations and our customers. And, interestingly, this adoption is not just happening in the metros. If we are going to tier two, three cities as well, customers are equally comfortable dealing with the organization by a combination of video, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth.
okay, okay. And what kind of safety precautions have you taken in the company right now?
One, the government had declared life insurance as an essential service, much like banks. So we've been open through the entire lockdown. Of course, we were operating with skeletal staff, both from headquarters and the branches that were allowed to remain open because some of them were in a containment zone. So we followed a very, very strict protocol when it comes to social distancing and hygiene, and all the necessary safeguards would need to be taken, including, for example, in headquarters, we have a situation now where not more than 33% people are allowed to be in office at any given point of time. We have 3 floors out here. There's no intermingling allowed between floors, and so on and so forth. So we have this interesting situation now. You and me are doing a Zoom call, but I very often do this with colleagues of mine who are sitting just 50 feet away from me on another floor.
Wow, wow, wow. That's very interesting, and something which we all should, I think a lot of us will take that. Yeah. Uh, so I'll come to your organization and to the people. Tell me about the people at Exide Life. What drives people? What motivates them to come to work? And especially now in the last 2 months.
Yeah, well, the last 2 months has been a trial by fire, if I could call it that. But people is in our business what the industry is all about. Because end of the day, the product that we take to the market is a promise. It is not a tangible product that you are actually giving to a customer. Therefore, the criticality of engaging with your workforce in our business is immeasurably high, and that's something that we have worked at very hard over the last 18 years. So, creating a right work environment, to my mind, it's 2 or 3 simple things. First starts with instilling a strong sense of purpose in the entire team. Okay. Uh, Complete absolute transparency in communication within the organization, because people now are very smart and they know exactly what management is saying, right? And I think a sincere year-round effort at employee engagement, because I found that the best ideas in our organization come from anywhere and they come from anyone. So if you are in a situation where you're actively engaging with people across all levels, across all geographies, that's a great way to be able to build the right work culture. In fact, our brand essence as an organization is lamba saath bharose ki baat.
Yeah.
So literally translated, long-term relationships build trust. Okay. And ever since the inception of the organization, we have worked hard to be able to provide an environment to employees where they have the space to perform and the opportunity to grow. Um, it's not been all smooth sailing, though, I will say. Huh? We have, as a company, seen major changes in shareholder. We have actually launched the brand of this organization on 3 separate occasions, post shareholder changes. We've dealt with the financial crisis and the industry downturn which followed in 2008-9, and recently we are dealing with the COVID crisis. But I can say with a lot of satisfaction and, in fact, a lot of pride that what we've been able to do is build a very resilient team. Team that understands that these short-term obstacles, temporary setbacks are temporary at best. Uh, And if we deal with them firmly, we'll be able to succeed in our ambition of building a business that promises to be long-term a great institution. So, this is Lamba Saab Bharose Ki Baat. In fact, I would say is not just a tagline. It's a core belief system in the organization. And I think a strong testimony to that would be the fact that the top 50 managers in our organization, we call them the senior management team, the average tenure of the manager in our organization is 9.8 years. And for
Wow.
an 18-year-old business, that's not bad, huh?
Yeah.
So, as I said before, it's not just a tagline, it's a belief system in the company.
Yeah, for me, from my lens, it's a huge, that's like big years, because in the startup world, 1 or 2 years is like big. So 9.5 is huge for Exide Life. Kshitij, as the leader at the helm of Exide Life, if you had to tell to people today who will be watching this, you know, if they had to look, and if they are the potential candidates, if they are looking at Exide Life, what would you tell them?
Exide Life, to my mind, is a great opportunity for someone who's focused on building a long-term career. I know these days, very often people are not willing to think beyond 2 years or 3 years at best. But my sense is there is still a large number of people who are focused on building a long-term career. And I think Exide Life and the insurance industry gives that opportunity. The second part, and I don't mean to sound emotional about this, but the fact is we do something which is socially relevant. So where do you get an opportunity to do something which is socially relevant and get paid well to do so? We are constantly looking for people who are keen to learn. I myself was not in financial services for the first 14 years of my career. And now, of course, I've been able to make this transition. Though I will caution, this industry tests your tenacity as the competition, both internal within the organization and external, is relentless.
As the CEO, as the head of Exide Life, I want to understand from you what are, and then I don't want to use the cliched word like mantra, but I want to ask from you, what's the drivers for you? What has, today you are at such a senior position, running a very successful enterprise, doing so well, numbers are speaking for itself. What has been your levers? What have been your drivers as a leader?
So you said that I should avoid cliches, but unfortunately, the question is such that I am forced to resort to one. Okay, I did mention to you that my formative years were not in financial services, right? But I made the transition quite smoothly because what I did successfully in the past and I continue to do now is I've had the good fortune of working with and creating high performing teams. And that, to my mind, is the most important attribute for a leader in this industry. It's what motivates me. So recruiting, mentoring, motivating, and unleashing talent, okay, is what has made my last 30 odd years immensely rewarding. And that's worked for me in this business as well.
Wow. Wow. So you're a leader who builds and creates and shapes other leaders. That's what I hear from you. And that's a very big takeaway. Yeah. Again, I'm going to ask you again a cliche, work-life balance. And I have a very strong view on that. Now, especially that the work has come to home, and I don't know where has home and home is home and what is what. How you, in your place, in your position, look at this?
This has been posed to me from within the organization a number of times, right? To my mind, if you love what you do as far as work is concerned, this concept of work-life balance, which by definition means that your life excludes work, I think it doesn't exist at all. Right?
Yeah.
Means how can I sit down and say that work is not your life or that personal life takes priority or second place as the case might be. For me personally, work, family, friends, and not to forget self are all equally important. Finding the right balance, of course, is a never-ending quest, and that's what makes life all so much more exciting. So I would never ever take work out of life. I think it's a very integral part of life. In some ways, it defines me,
Yeah.
and I would think that a number of my colleagues who are running large businesses would probably agree with me.
Thank you so much. I'm so inspired. You're such a positive person. I'm very inspired talking to you. If I can ask you one more question, I want to understand from your experience in the last you know, 19 and a half years that you've been in insurance business, if you had to say professionally to all the young people and people who will be watching this, to be at your place, to be where you are today and be one of the leaders and be so positive with time, because you know, leaders, when they become very senior and at top places, they also don't, they lose that mojo, they lose that laughter. But having that and being successful, what are some of the things that you have done consciously in your life over the years?
So, simply put, getting to a leadership position very often is a question of circumstances, right person, right place, right time. Staying in a leadership position, I always believe, is relatively more difficult. Um, and it becomes even more difficult because there's always someone who's younger, smarter, and sometimes cheaper than you out there. Right? So, to my mind, the only way to be able to manage this, one is you have to learn how to compete with yourself.
Mm.
Because if you don't bring more of yourself to the table every week, every quarter, every year, sooner or later, someone is going to come and make you redundant. So, to my mind, it is a question of application. It is a question of finding that balance, as I mentioned before, because there are so many stakeholders to be able to look after. And it is to believe in yourself.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Kshitij.
Thank you very much. You were very easy to talk to.
No, but you are very good. You're not like insurance people. Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.